This is the WGNS Action Line, talking with Rutherford County newsmakers about what matters most to you.
Your host, J. Paul Newman of the monthly District Attorney Show.
The viewpoints and opinions expressed on this broadcast are the viewpoints and opinions of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints and opinions of this show, its host, or the management of this station. You are listening to WGNS. We welcome everyone to the program. My name is J. Paul Newman. My co-hosts today are Rutherford County District Attorney General Jennings Jones and Rutherford County Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. We thank WGNS for providing the airtime. And we also thank our producer, Scott Walker. Most of all, we thank you for listening. We will begin our broadcast after you listen to these important messages.
Hi, Murfreesboro. This is Amanda from Animal City. We're at 919 Northwest Broad Street. If you prefer puffy cheeks and cute little whiskers, come check out all of our pocket pets such as hamsters, gerbils, mice, and rats. It's here at Animal City. We have a great small animal selection downstairs and all of the supplies to keep them healthy and happy. This is Amanda from Animal City. We are so proud to be Murfreesboro's pet destination for 35 years. Animal City, 919 Northwest Broad Street, family owned and operated.
This is Peter Demas, and our family is inviting your family to come eat with us at Demas's Restaurant. Demas's has had a bar when we opened 35 years ago. And we've done the exact same thing with our bar menu that we've done with our food menu. We get higher quality items, higher quality cocktails. And some people just want a drink with their meal, where they might be able to get a drink to complement their meals. You need to check it out, so come on over right now. Demas's Restaurant on Northwest Broad Street. We really focus on value.
My name is J. Paul Newman. On our Call to Conviction segment, we will review a case that sent shockwaves through the community of Rutherford County, Tennessee. It was the murder of 26-year-old Caitlin Irvin. Caitlin Irvin was the daughter of Rutherford County Commissioner Steve Irvin. To discuss this crime will be the lead investigator on the case, Detective Steve Craig of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office.
From call to conviction, time now for a look back at one of the more intriguing and important cases for this community. From the crime, the investigation, to the prosecution.
On the afternoon of February the 27th, 2018, at 4:43 p.m., Rutherford County Commissioner Steve Irvin called the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. The purpose of his call was to report that his home had been burglarized. When the Sheriff's Department arrived, they observed that the home had been completely ransacked. Commissioner Irvin reported that several items were taken from the residence, including 2 firearms. Other items taken included jewelry, a Rolex watch, an iPad, a TV, and a safe. The largest item taken was a car, a gray Ford Fiesta. But the most important aspect of the case was that a family member was missing, and that family member may have been in the home when the burglary occurred. That family member was 26-year-old Caitlin Irvin. The Irvin residence was equipped with video surveillance. When law enforcement viewed the video, they discovered that the Irvin's Ford Fiesta had left the residence at 2:15 p.m. that day. Numerous and frantic efforts were made to reach Caitlin Irvin by calling her cell phone, but every attempt was unsuccessful. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office investigation team, which was led by Detective Sergeant Steve Craig, continued to process evidence and follow the leads. Then, 6 days after the burglary, on March the 5th, 2018, a major and tragic discovery in the case came to light. The murdered body of Caitlin Irvin was found in a smokehouse in a rural area of Rutherford County. The next day, March the 6th, 2018, medical examiner David Zimmerman performed an autopsy on the body of Caitlin Irvin. Dr. Zimmerman determined that Caitlin Irvin's cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. Because of the circumstances, Dr. Zimmerman also collected a rape kit, which was delivered to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation Crime Laboratory for processing and DNA analysis. From all of the interviews and processing of evidence, a suspect was developed. That suspect was 38-year-old Ellis Bell III. Over the next 300-plus days, Detective Sergeant Steve Craig and his team continued to investigate every aspect of the case. After multiple meetings reviewing his case with Assistant District Attorney J. Paul Newman, Craig was ready to present his evidence to the Rutherford County Grand Jury. In January of 2019, Detective Steve Craig presented his evidence against Ellis Bell III to the Rutherford County Grand Jury. The grand jury indicted Ellis Bell on numerous felony charges related to the kidnapping, rape, and murder of 26-year-old Caitlin Irvin. Due to conflicts of interest, specifically that Caitlin Irvin's father was the director of the Rutherford County Probation and Recovery Services Program, and that he was also a county commissioner, all of the Rutherford County Circuit Court judges recused themselves from the case. To further avoid any conflict of interest, the Bell case was assigned to Judge Brody Kane of Lebanon, Tennessee. It was also determined that all of the legal proceedings would remain in Rutherford County, with Judge Kane traveling to Murfreesboro to preside over the case as a special judge. The defendant was represented by Rutherford County Public Defender Gerald Melton and Assistant Public Defender Ben Wetzel. The state was represented by Assistant District Attorney J. Paul Newman. On February the 28th, 2020, Judge Brody Kane scheduled the trial of Ellis Bell III. It was scheduled to begin on January the 25th, 2021. But before that date arrived, tragedy once again struck the Irvin family. On April the 9th, 2020, Caitlin Irvin's father, Steve Irvin, passed away at the age of 66. His wife, Deborah, related that her husband had died of a broken heart. Due to various legal procedures and significant delays that were caused by the COVID-19 virus outbreak, the court proceedings moved slowly. In September of 2020, Assistant District Attorney J. Paul Newman retired from the Rutherford County District Attorney's Office. The murder case of Ellis Bell III was then reassigned to Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. On Thursday, May the 6th, 2021, with the COVID pandemic in recession, Ellis Bell III appeared in the courtroom of Special Judge Brody Kane. Bell had decided not to go to trial and chose instead to enter a negotiated plea agreement. With the mother of Caitlin Irvin present in the courtroom, Ellis Bell III pled guilty to the reduced charge of second-degree murder for the brutal execution-style killing of Caitlin Irvin. Bell also entered a no-contest plea for the rape of Caitlin Irvin. Pursuant to the plea agreement, Judge Kane sentenced Ellis Bell III to serve 40 years in the Tennessee Department of Corrections. To tell us more about the murder of Caitlin Irvin and the arrest and successful prosecution of Ellis Bell III is Detective Sergeant Steve Craig of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office. Detective Craig, my summary was quite brief, but I would like to ask you a series of questions that are designed to tell us more about the investigation of the kidnapping and murder of Caitlin Irvin and the arrest and conviction of Ellis Bell III. Detective Craig, can you kind of give us a summary of what you actually think happened based on the evidence that you collected that resulted in the death of Caitlin Irvin?
Yes, I believe that the day that this all happened, it either Caitlin had gotten home and he followed her inside of the house because he was already in the neighborhood, or he was inside of the home and Caitlin walked in on him. From there, he took her to the smokehouse where he killed her, and then he went back to Nashville, stopped by his friend's house, and then ended up being taken into custody by Metro a little bit later that night.
According to the autopsy report, Miss Irvin died as a result of a gunshot wound to the head. Were you able to establish the caliber of the gun and how Ellis Bell obtained that firearm, and was that gun ever recovered?
Yes, we were able to establish the caliber of the firearm. It was a .45 caliber firearm. We recovered the casing at the scene. After he left the smokehouse, he did go to a car wash and ended up cleaning and washing the car. I believe he got rid of the weapon that killed her there at the car wash. We didn't learn that until 2 weeks later, so we weren't able to recover that weapon. As far as him obtaining the firearm, I would say he probably stole it or traded somebody else for it. He didn't obtain it legally because he had already been prosecuted for being a convicted felon in possession of a weapon.
In your investigation, at any time did you ever believe there was any reason to believe that Caitlin Irvin was able to defend herself during this episode?
Not at all. Like I said, she either walked in on it or he walked in on her. She was completely taken by surprise, and he had a weapon that he probably displayed to her fairly immediately. I don't think she had a chance at all to help herself in that.
Was there any relationship, either good or bad, that existed between Caitlin Irvin and Ellis Bell III? Or was this a random act of violence?
This was completely random. They didn't know each other at all. Ellis Bell would typically, from what I learned throughout the investigation, was he would use an app on his phone to try to find areas of town that had higher priced houses, and that's how he would choose to pick his targets to burglarize. As the investigation went on, you learn more about what his motives were and what his methods were, and there was no connection between the two of them at all.
Several items were taken in this burglary. Were any of those items recovered? And if so, what role did those items play in building a case on Ellis Bell?
There were multiple items taken during the burglary. Just to name a few: a TV, a holster for a weapon itself, 2 weapons actually, multiple pieces of jewelry, and watches. And what some of those things did was, as we learned where he went from the time he burglarized the house until he was detained by law enforcement, it almost left a trail for us to follow. He left a couple of pieces at each place, and we were able to end up recovering, TV, watches, gun, holster, jewelry. All of those things ended up helping us lead to what the story was and what happened.
What was some of the evidence that unerringly pointed the finger of guilt at Ellis Bell?
Well, there were multiple witnesses in the neighborhood that day. They took pictures of him walking around the neighborhood. There was one other residence where he attempted to break in. We sent Detective Brinkley back to that residence to try to process that window where he attempted to break in, and we recovered his fingerprints from that window. Obviously, the vehicle that he was in, he had the weapon that he'd stolen from the home that day, and we ended up recovering property that I mentioned before: the TV, watches, jewelry, holster, all of that, and the DNA. Those were the main pieces of evidence, I believe.
And was there any specific time when you realized that, without any doubt, that Ellis Bell killed Caitlin Irvin?
Yes, it would have been when we discovered, and we'd sent off to the TBI lab for the DNA from the vehicle and for the rape kit during the autopsy. And when his DNA came back on both, I knew that we had our guy.
We certainly do not want to forget about our victim, Caitlin Irvin. Please tell us about Caitlin Irvin.
Caitlin was described as being the joy and the entertainment of the family. You work with a family for several years, you get bits and pieces of what it's like to be a part of their family sometimes. And I would say the joy that she brought to that family is what they miss the most about her presence being there all the time. She was just kind of the glue that held everything together, from what I understand. And she had a large family. I mean, she had multiple siblings. Her parents, Steve and Debbie, and then the siblings, Erica, Meredith, Jason, Candace, and Tori. It's just a large family, that just a very loving, faithful family.
What can you tell us particularly about her mother and father?
Well, Steve ended up being a county commissioner here, serving the community, and before he passed. And Debbie, bless her, she's had to endure so much, and I'm not sure I've ever met a stronger woman than her. She's completely amazing. She's full of grace and full of love, and for her to go through what she's gone through and then say in the impact statement what she said to Ellis Bell, and she referenced that she prayed for him every day. And to be honest, it brought a tear to my eye, because I don't know that I could be that graceful in that moment.
Detective, this was a devastating case for the family. No one expects to have to bury their daughter. Certainly no one expects their daughter to be kidnapped and murdered, and then to have to relive the events by attending court proceedings, and in being in the same courtroom, mere feet from the person who killed your daughter. Tell us about the family's strength and how they found the courage to not only cooperate in the investigation, but to also attend the court proceedings and all of the events leading up to Ellis Bell III pleading guilty.
I can't imagine what all they went through, the sadness, the hurt, but they endured. They kept believing in faith, they kept believing in justice, and they kept believing in me, and we got to where we needed to go. And I thank them for their patience, and I thank them for their belief in me.
We want to thank you and the other members of the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office for the excellent work that was performed in bringing Ellis Bell III to justice.
This is Hannah Bleem here at the Rutherford County Farmers Market. This year, the Farmers Market is celebrating 50 years of being open, and we're here to talk to different vendors today.
Hey, this is Hunter Dorton with Mycoterra Pharmacy. We grow gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. We sell fresh mushrooms, dried mushrooms, powders, tinctures, mushroom-infused honey. We sell mushroom coffee, mushroom brew, different tinctures to take as a supplement. We also grow our own herbs, make loose leaf tea, topical salve, and CBD products. So come and check us out at the Rutherford County Farmers Market, the Nolensville Farmers Market, and the Franklin Farmers Market on the weekends. And we're happy to be of service to you and help you and get your health journey on the right track.
Thank you so much. The Rutherford County Farmers Market is open on Tuesdays and Fridays from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. at 315 John R. Rice Boulevard in Murfreesboro until October 31st. This is Hannah Bleem here at the Rutherford County Farmers Market, celebrating 50 years of being open.
The GNS in our call stands for Good Neighbor Station. That's been our objective since 1947. Now more than ever, count on WGNS. What's the law? Time now for an examination of the laws of Tennessee. This is not intended to be legal advice and is being presented solely for the informational benefit of our listening audience. You should always consult with an attorney whenever you need or rely on legal advice.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to this episode of What's the Law? Today, we're going to briefly discuss what steps are involved if the District Attorney's Office determines it is necessary to ask the court to exhume or disinter or dig up a body for additional unperformed analysis or testing. Tennessee Code Annotated 387107 outlines the procedure the state must follow when it wants to have human remains exhumed. Only 4 groups can make such a request of the court: a state or county medical examiner, the District Attorney General of the district in which it is claimed the death occurred, the District Attorney General of the district in which the act causing the death occurred, or the District Attorney General of the district in which the body is buried or interred. In fairness, however, the last three may be one and the same. The grounds for disinterment, or the reasons why it can be requested, are as follows. The person's death occurred under either of the following circumstances. The person was buried or interred before an autopsy could be performed, or the disinterment will substantially assist in the collection of evidence for a pending criminal investigation, regardless of whether an autopsy was previously performed, or for DNA, or for scientific or forensic evidence to be collected. The petition must set out the reasons why the district attorney believes that the death in question needs a post-mortem examination or autopsy. The petition is to be served on the next of kin of the deceased. The petition can be presented to a court whether it is in session or not. A court with jurisdiction over a county can order an exhumation or autopsy in the county in which it is claimed that the death occurred, the county in which the act causing the death occurred, or any other county of a judicial district in which circumstances leading to the death were likely to have occurred. The judge hearing the petition under this section shall have the power and authority to rule upon the petition in any county in which the judge has jurisdiction. The judge is authorized to consider the petition and, in the exercise of sound discretion, either make or deny an order authorizing the disinterment and autopsy to be performed on the body of the deceased. There's no clear outline of what is required for the district attorney to petition the court or for the court to find in order to require exhumation. However, when questions that were not answered may be answered by an autopsy and or additional testing, the district attorney will outline the facts he or she believes necessary to establish cause for disinterment. While that doesn't seem to be an extensive process, that is just the process required to get approval. There are still several other steps to take and agencies that must be involved. The funeral home that oversaw the burial of the person must be contacted to arrange for locating the body. Once located, either independently or with the assistance of the funeral home, a specialized party must undertake the process of digging up the body. Care must be taken in order not to damage the vault or the casket, and especially the remains. Once removed from the ground, or potentially mausoleum, the body must be transported to the medical examiner's office for the autopsy or collection of DNA or other scientific testing. After completion of the autopsy or additional testing, the body must be laid to rest again or cremated if the next of kin so desires. So the reverse process is followed. The body must be transported back to the funeral home or potentially directly to the gravesite or mausoleum. Then the body is either buried or interred. This is not an action to be taken lightly, not just because of the additional expense that is required, but the emotional impact on the family of the deceased. It is another burden that rests on the shoulders of the elected District Attorney General, a decision that he carries or she carries with them when making all decisions whether or not to ask the court for disinterment. And that would conclude this episode of What's the Law. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, my name is Diane Davenport, and I just want to tell you about Adams Place. It is a wonderful place to live. Before I moved in here, a friend and I came together and we always ate lunch and walked around. Do I know you? Are you new here? It's very nice because it's easy to be in your own home and be isolated. It's nice to just come out of your apartment and find someone that says, hello, how are you? It just makes you feel good.
This is Terry Deal. Come tour Adams Place and discover living a dream in your senior years.
Good morning. They moved a wreck over to the side, 65 southbound at Trinity Lane, where we have one quite often there in that same spot. It's heavy down through there this time of the morning as it is on 65 coming southbound. All that traffic making its way down through Madison, arriving there at Trinity Lane. It continues to build with more volume in the last few minutes, but it's moving right now 24 west up through the Antioch area coming in from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County. Princess Hot Chicken has new items on the menu. Check them all out this weekend when you order online at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Bigger isn't always better. When it comes to your financial institution, don't send your money to some far-off bank in another state. At Heritage South Community Credit Union, we help when others won't. We've been serving our community since 1957 and are still locally owned and operated in Middle Tennessee. If you're tired of talking to artificial intelligence and computer screens and branches, give Heritage South a try. Learn more at heritagesouth.org. Insured by NCUA.
Broadcasting to every nook and cranny of Rutherford County's 618 square miles. FM 100.5, 101.9, and AM 1450.
Looking for a lift kit for your truck or Jeep and need the right experts to install it? Look no further than Tire World in Murfreesboro, Smyrna, and Laverne.
Tire World, we keep your family rolling.
Broadcasting from the tallest tower in the city with that little red light on top. FM 100.5, FM 101.9, and AM 1450.
CBS News special report. This morning's tepid jobs numbers are triggering predictions the Fed will finally cut interest rates. The Labor Department says employers added a measly 22,000 positions in August. That compares to 73,000 the month before. Economist Diane Swunk.
This is a labor market that is hard for those who have already lost a job to find a job, and people are not moving around a lot. Healthy churn is not there.
CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger on some of the sector's hardest hit.
Federal workers down 15,000 in August, and in fact, federal government employment is now down 97,000 since peaking in January of this year.
Unemployment rose from 4.2 to 4.3%. The jobs count the first since President Trump fired the Bureau's commissioner, claiming July's numbers were rigged. Many analysts expect the new report will prompt the Fed to make a move when it meets later this month. CBS News special report. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
This is Inside the Courts. A look at this month's trials, pleas, and grand jury action. Inside the Courts is presented as a courtesy of the Rutherford County Clerk's Office.
Good morning, everyone. This is your District Attorney General, Jennings Jones, and today I will be your tour guide through this episode of Inside the Courts. We begin this segment by stating that none of the defendants named in any upcoming trials or hearings have been convicted, and they are presumed by our law to be innocent. With that as a prelude, we will now go inside the courts. On October the 13th of last year, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to a 911 call for shots fired at a residence on Las Casas Pike in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Upon arrival, officers discovered Mr. Jaleel Turner lying unresponsive on the floor of his apartment, suffering from a gunshot wound to the abdomen. Mr. Turner later died from his injuries. Detective William Pullius was assigned as lead investigator. On scene was Mr. Turner's girlfriend, Miss Shakira Brown. Miss Brown lived at the residence with Mr. Turner. After the collection of evidence on scene and a subsequent interview of Miss Brown, she was charged with second-degree murder of Mr. Turner. The defendant is represented by counsel Mr. Brent Horst, while the state is represented by Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch. This matter is scheduled for appearance in the General Sessions Courts of Rutherford County on December 2nd of this year. On October 27th of last year, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to an emergency assist where a man identified as Harold Cruz had sustained injuries to the head. Mr. Cruz was awake but unable to respond to questions. He eventually slipped into a coma and later died from his injuries. During the investigation, video footage was located which showed Mr. Cruz sleeping behind a convenience store close to where he was later found. While sleeping, an unknown individual approached Mr. Cruz, shook him awake, and then struck him in the head with a large rock. Detective Matthew Coe was assigned as lead detective. The investigation led to other videos being obtained from nearby stores, which allowed detectives to identify Mr. Clinton Johnson as the person that had attacked Mr. Cruz. Mr. Johnson was located and interviewed and admitted to attacking and robbing Mr. Cruz. Mr. Johnson has been charged with first-degree murder. On January 24th of this year, Mr. Johnson appeared before the General Sessions Court of Rutherford County and bound his case over for presentation to a grand jury. In August of this year, the grand jury indicted Mr. Johnson for first-degree murder and aggravated robbery. His next appearance is scheduled for September 30th of this year. Mr. Johnson is represented by the Office of the District Public Defender, and the state is represented by Assistant District Attorney Matt Westmoreland. On May 18th of 2022, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to a call of shots fired at the tennis courts on campus at Middle Tennessee State University. Officers responded and located 2 gunshot victims, Mr. Hassani Brewer, who later died from his injuries, and Mr. Xavion Amos, who survived his injuries. Detective David Miller was assigned as the lead investigator. From witnesses on scene and with the assistance of MTSU security cameras, detectives were able to identify several young males entering the tennis courts just after the graduation ceremony for Riverdale High School students. 2 of the individuals, Mr. Brewer and Mr. Amos, had agreed to fight. The fight was observed by 4 other males, including Mr. Dante Martin, a friend of Mr. Amos. During the course of the fight, Mr. Martin pulled a handgun and began to fire into the fight, striking Mr. Brewer multiple times, as well as Mr. Amos. Subsequently, Mr. Martin was charged as a juvenile with first-degree murder and attempted second-degree murder. The state petitioned the juvenile court to transfer Mr. Martin to adult court and be allowed to prosecute him as an adult. A hearing was held, and the juvenile court agreed to transfer Mr. Martin. On December of 2023, Mr. Martin was indicted for first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and various other charges. On March 20th of this year, Mr. Martin entered pleas of guilty to second-degree murder and aggravated assault, receiving a total sentence of 15 years to serve in the custody of the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Mr. Martin was represented by counsel Mr. Jacob Friendly. The state was represented by Assistant District Attorney Matt Westmoreland. On February 27th of 2023, deputies with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office responded to a business on Halls Hill Pike in reference to an armed subject attacking and attempting to shoot several employees. The employees fought back and were able to subdue the subject, later identified as Eric Buchanan. Mr. Buchanan had recently been banned from entering the business. Mr. Buchanan went to the business armed with a semi-automatic pistol. He walked through the front door, immediately struck an employee in the head with the pistol, and then pointed the pistol at the owner that had banned him and pulled the trigger. Fortunately, the firearm malfunctioned and did not fire, but audio-video surveillance equipment recorded the entire incident and captured the chilling sound of the click when the trigger was pulled while the gun was pointed directly at the owner's head. At this moment, several individuals jumped in to physically restrain Mr. Buchanan until law enforcement arrived. Detective Monica Fonseca was assigned as lead investigator. After interviewing witnesses and reviewing audio-video recordings, Mr. Buchanan was charged with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, possession of a weapon by a felon, and employing a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony. A preliminary hearing was held in the General Sessions Courts on March 23rd of 23, and the court found probable cause to bind the matter over to the grand jury. In May of 2023, the grand jury returned an indictment for all counts. A trial was held in October of last year, and October 24th of 2024, a jury of his peers convicted Mr. Buchanan on all counts. On January 31st of this year, Circuit Court Judge Jimmy Turner sentenced Mr. Buchanan to a total effective sentence of 120 years to serve in the custody of the Tennessee Department of Corrections as a career offender. Mr. Buchanan has at least 8 prior felony convictions, several for violent felonies. Mr. Buchanan was represented by counsel Miss Jennifer Fiola, and the state was represented by Assistant District Attorneys Matt Westmoreland and Will DeMint. On December 1st of 2021, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to 1421 Old Las Casas Pike after the body of Shanna Gibson was discovered. Miss Gibson had died from an apparent gunshot wound to the head. Detective Chris Houck of the Murfreesboro Police Department was assigned as the lead investigator. The victim's boyfriend, Myron Jenkins, was missing from the residence, but was later located at St. Thomas Rutherford after his father had attempted to have him admitted. While on scene, officers located a black firearm outside by the driveway. Detectives interviewed Mr. Jenkins, who attempted to feign insanity. Mental health experts determined that Mr. Jenkins was competent and the defense of insanity was not supported. At the conclusion of Detective Houck's investigation, Myron Jenkins was charged with first-degree murder. On April 25th of this year, a jury of Mr. Jenkins' peers convicted him, as charged, of first-degree murder in possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Mr. Jenkins was immediately sentenced to life in prison and is now incarcerated in a TDOC penitentiary. However, he is scheduled for a sentencing hearing for the weapons charge on September 30th of this year. Mr. Jenkins was represented by counsel Mr. Charles Ward, while the state was represented by Assistant District Attorneys Sarah Davis and Dana Minor. On April 6th of 2022, officers with the Murfreesboro Police Department responded to an apartment on Las Casas Road and located a deceased male identified as Ryan Wolcott. Mr. Wolcott's roommate found Mr. Wolcott lying on the floor. Mr. Wolcott had been deceased for at least 24 hours, and the cause of death was determined to be from multiple stab wounds and multiple blunt force trauma injuries. Mr. Wolcott's roommate had been staying with a female friend for a few days. The roommate, however, advised of a third roommate, Mr. Alistair Jennings. Mr. Jennings had a known drug problem and a history of violence. Mr. Jennings was located and interviewed. He initially denied living at the apartment and denied knowing the victim. He claimed he had entered the apartment before, but only through the window, and did not have a key to the door. However, Mr. Jennings was found to be in possession of keys to the apartment. This was important because the victim's body was found to be blocking the front door, and evidence showed the window was unlocked. Mr. Wolcott's roommate had advised officers that the doorway was blocked, but he could see Mr. Wolcott lying on the floor. Responding officers had to use force to make entry into the apartment. Mr. Jennings later confirmed he did know the victim and did live at the apartment. He also had several cuts on his hands, consistent with offensive wounds, injuries caused during an assault of another with a knife. He initially denied any altercation with Mr. Wolcott, but Mr. Jennings was wearing a hospital band, and officers obtained Mr. Jennings' medical records. Mr. Jennings reported to hospital staff he had been in a fight with his roommate. Mr. Jennings was charged with first-degree murder and aggravated assault resulting in death. Mr. Jennings appeared before the General Sessions Court for a preliminary hearing on September 12th of 2022, and the matter was bound over to the Rutherford County Grand Jury. On June 25th of this year, Mr. Jennings entered a plea of guilty to second-degree murder and received a 22-year sentence to be served in TDOC custody. The defendant was represented by counsel Mr. Ben Wetzel, and the state was represented by Assistant District Attorney Matt Westmoreland. Between January 21st and July of 2022, Ryan and Amy Koss, who are husband and wife, operated a business called Cornerstone Pools and Service. The couple obtained contracts with 4 different families in Rutherford County, and each contract was over $40,000. Each contract required a down payment, and 2 families had paid a second large payment on a second contract that was presented to them. No work was performed by the defendants, but the defendants transferred the money out of their business account and into their personal account and then spent the money. The defendants also filed for bankruptcy during this time and were unsuccessful at discharging their debts. The defendants operated this business and negotiated contracts at a threshold level that required them to be licensed as a general contractor in the state of Tennessee. They held no such license. The loss sustained by the victims in this case was more than $60,000. Detective Stephen Lewis with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office was assigned as the lead investigator. In July of 2023, a sealed indictment was returned by the Rutherford County Grand Jury against the defendant for offenses of theft over $60,000 and criminal impersonation of a licensed professional. On August 25th of this year, a jury trial began, and on August 29th, a jury of their peers found the defendants guilty as charged in both counts of the indictment. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for November 3rd of this year. The state was represented by Assistant District Attorneys Tammy Reddig and Andrew Hazley. The defendants were represented by counsels Billy Zimmerman for Amy Koss and John Drake for Ryan Koss. A trial is scheduled to begin on February the 2nd of 2026 on Candace Davis for allegations of second-degree murder, employing a weapon during a commission of a dangerous offense, and employing a firearm. The defendant is represented by counsel, Mr. Will Fraley, while the state is represented by Assistant District Attorneys Trevor Lynch and Matt Westmoreland. A trial is scheduled to begin on March 20th of 2026 on Cameron Jordan for allegations of second-degree murder, reckless endangerment, tampering with evidence, employing a firearm during a dangerous felony, and unlawful possession of a weapon. The defendant is represented by counsel Mr. Derek Howard, while the state is represented by Assistant District Attorney Matt Westmoreland. And that will conclude this episode of our look inside the courts.
Don't miss the Rick Burgess Show weekdays 11 to 2 here on News Radio WGNS.
The Rick Burgess Show, weekdays 11 to 2 on News Radio WGNS.
The monthly District Attorney Show, heard exclusively on News Radio WGNS the first Friday of each month.
If you missed any part of this program, it will be available shortly as a podcast on the WGNS website. As we end our program today, we thank WGNS for providing the airtime. And we thank our producer, Scott Walker. Most of all, we thank you for listening. We leave now by saying, a safe community is the responsibility of each and every one of us. For my two co-hosts, Rutherford County District Attorney General Jennings Jones and Rutherford County Assistant District Attorney Trevor Lynch, this is J. Paul Newman, bidding all of you a safe and blessed day.
The District Attorney's Office thanks you for listening to today's program. If you have any information regarding criminal activity in our community, please contact one of our law enforcement agencies. The information presented on today's show is solely for informational benefit and not intended to be legal advice. You should always consult an attorney whenever you need or rely on legal advice. Rutherford County's most trusted name in news. Talk Radio WGNS, Murfreesboro.